The galaxy's ultimate weapon was once a dying ship, until a human mechanic saved it. In the dark, silent stretches of the outer galaxy, the derelict ship floated like a ghost. Its hull, scarred and rusted, reflected distant starlight in jagged patterns. Once it had been the pride of a powerful alien empire, a warship so advanced that entire fleets feared it. Now, it was nothing more than drifting metal, dead circuits, and memories of battles long past. Most believed it was worthless. Most were wrong. Evan Harper watched it from his small scout ship, eyes narrowed behind the visor of his helmet. The human mechanic was no ordinary engineer. He had earned a reputation among human colonies for fixing machines others called hopeless. Broken starships, malfunctioning AI cores, even entire stations. They all found life again under his hands. And now, the universe's most forgotten weapon waited for him. "Beautiful," he whispered. His voice echoed faintly inside his helmet. He felt the thrill of discovery run through him, the kind that came only when facing something that promised danger, mystery, and possibility all at once. Evan docked with the derelict carefully. Every movement was slow, deliberate. The docking clamps groaned as they latched onto the alien hull. Inside, the smell was metallic, like rust mixed with burnt circuits. Dust floated in the air, catching faint beams of light from his helmet. He had expected emptiness, but he didn't expect the quiet hum beneath the silence. It came from the ship's AI core. Broken, fragmented, and unstable, it whispered in pulses of energy and static. Evan knelt beside a flickering console and laid his hands on it. "Hey," he said gently. "I can help you." The AI responded with a burst of noise, almost like a startled animal. Symbols flashed on the screen, alien writing that no human had ever been trained to read. Evan didn't panic. He had learned long ago that most machines responded to calm hands, patience, and ingenuity. Slowly he began deciphering the patterns, matching energy pulses with basic logic. Hours passed. He patched circuits with makeshift tools, rerouted failing power systems, and cleaned years of grime from delicate equipment. Every move had to be precise. One wrong connection, one misread signal, and the ship could fry itself, or worse, kill him. For days, Evan worked. His meals were simple nutrient packs. Sleep came in short bursts. He slept in a small cot inside the ship's engineering bay, but always with one hand on a control panel, ready for alarms. And the AI began to respond, first hesitantly, then with more confidence. It didn't speak words, at least not in any human language, but it pulsed in patterns that Evan could sense. Curiosity, recognition, perhaps even trust. Meanwhile, outside the ship, the galaxy didn't stand still. Alien factions patrolled nearby systems, always on the lookout for advanced technology. They noticed the faint energy signature the derelict emitted as Evan worked. Scouts were dispatched.
Inside the hull, Evan ignored the danger outside.
He had bigger challenges. The ship's weapon systems, massive and intricate, had been dormant for decades. He stared at their complex designs, tracing circuits, analyzing power flows. He realized that if he could repair just a fraction of the systems, he could bring the ship back to life. But even humans had limits. He would need creativity, improvisation, and the courage to try things no one had ever attempted. He smiled faintly. This was the kind of challenge he loved. The first breakthrough came in the AI core. Evan connected a small, human-made processor, designed to stabilize failing systems. The AI responded with a flash of energy pulsing faster than ever before. A screen flickered to life, showing schematics of the ship's interior, weapon systems, and navigation grids. For the first time in decades, the ship was awake. "Finally," Evan whispered, "you're not dead. You're just waiting for the right hands." Days turned into nights, and nights back into days. The scout ship he had arrived in remained outside, almost forgotten. As he worked tirelessly, he repaired life support systems, cleaned oxygen filters, and even managed to restore partial propulsion controls. Small victories, but they were enough to keep the momentum going. Then came the challenge of the weapons. Massive energy cannons, plasma turrets, and defensive shields. The ship had been built to destroy entire fleets. Evan studied their designs, understanding how they worked in theory. In practice, many circuits were fried. The alien technology was unlike anything humans had built. But Evan was human, and humans had a reputation for ingenuity. He scavenged materials from his scout ship and his toolkits. He crafted makeshift circuits, rerouted energy lines, and replaced broken conduits. Slowly, the weapons began to hum with potential. They were unstable, dangerous even, but alive. One night as he worked on a particularly stubborn energy relay, the hull shuddered. Evan froze. The hum of distant engines reached his ears. A fleet. The alien scouts had arrived. They didn't know what to expect, but they had detected the derelict's faint activation. Evan's mind raced. He could run, but then the ship, and all the work he had done, would be lost. No, he wouldn't abandon it. Not now, not after coming this far. He activated the ship's outer defenses, rudimentary though they were. Small turrets lit up, targeting the approaching scouts. They fired, scattering drones and missiles with a precision the aliens hadn't expected. Evan smiled faintly. Improvisation, human ingenuity, and courage. These were his weapons. Inside, the AI pulsed faster than ever, almost as if it were aware of the danger. Evan realized that this was more than a ship. It was a mind, a weapon, and together they were stronger than any enemy expected. As the scouts closed in, Evan climbed to the bridge. Every system he touched hummed with new life. Screens flickered with information, mapping the alien fleet, calculating distances, predicting trajectories. His heart raced, but his hands were steady. He was ready. Then one of the scouts fired a warning shot, a beam of energy that scorched a section of the hull. Sparks flew. Evan ducked behind a console, assessing the damage. The ship groaned, but it held. "Not bad for a human," a mechanical voice said. It wasn't the voice of the AI exactly, but a strange hybrid tone. Alien yet familiar. Evan smiled. "Not bad at all," he said. He realized something important in that moment. The derelict ship was not just a machine. It was a challenge, a puzzle, a partner. And he, human, creative, unpredictable, was exactly what it needed. The alien scouts would not leave easily. They assumed this ship was powerless. They assumed they had the advantage. But they had not counted on a human mind behind the controls. Evan prepared for what came next. The first move of a long game had been made. He had awakened the sleeping giant, repaired systems no one believed could be restored, and formed an alliance with a mind older and wiser than any human. And now, the galaxy would take notice. But Evan didn't think about fame or glory. He thought about circuits, energy pulses, and the hum of a ship coming back to life. He thought about the impossible things humans could do when they refused to give up. Outside, the scouts closed in. Inside, Evan Harper grinned. This was only the beginning. The derelict ship shivered as if in anticipation, ready for its first dance after decades of silence. And with a human at its heart, it would move differently than it ever had before. Faster, smarter, deadlier, but not reckless. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. Evan Harper sat in the bridge of the derelict ship, staring at the flickering screens that mapped the approaching alien scouts. His fingers hovered over the controls, ready for any sudden movement. The hum of the ship was steady now, almost alive, as if it were aware of the danger outside and trusting him to act. He had repaired most of the internal systems, but the ship was far from complete. Its weapons were partially functional, propulsion limited, and shields weak. Any mistake could mean destruction, yet Evan didn't panic. Humans had always thrived in impossible situations. "All right," he muttered to himself. "Let's see what you've got." The alien scouts advanced cautiously, their sensors scanning for any threat. They assumed this floating relic was harmless, a lost ship too old to function. That assumption would cost them dearly. Evan began rerouting power to the weapons. He used small human-made processors to stabilize alien energy circuits. Sparks flew, screens flashed, and the hum of plasma cannons grew louder. Each cannon came alive one by one, as if awakening from decades of slumber. The AI pulsed in response. Its energy signals were erratic but clear. Curiosity, approval, and a strange sense of anticipation. Evan smiled.
"Don't worry," he said. "We're gonna do this together." The first weapon he tested was a plasma turret on the upper hull.
He calibrated it with human intuition rather than alien protocols, trusting his own experience rather than technical manuals. The turret roared to life, firing a precise shot into the void. It left a glowing trail that stretched for kilometers before dissipating in the cold darkness of space. Evan held his breath. The scout's sensors had not detected the pulse yet. The first strike would be a surprise. He began mapping each turret, calculating trajectories and predicting the movement of the alien fleet. He had no formal combat training, but he had repaired enough ships and watched enough battles to understand strategy. Humans always adapted, and adaptation was strength. Hours passed, and Evan's work continued. He modified power conduits, patched damaged circuits, and even used parts from his small scout ship to improve the derelict's failing systems. Each repair was a gamble, but he trusted his skills. He knew humans had a special ability to see solutions where others saw only failure. Finally, the ship's shields were partially restored. They flickered with faint energy, fragile but functional. Evan ran a quick test, sending a small energy pulse from the ship's core to the shields. The system held. He grinned. Not bad for a start. Then, a warning flashed on one of the screens. The alien scouts had noticed the ship's energy spike. A beam shot past the derelict's hull, grazing the side with a sizzling shockwave. Evan ducked instinctively. The hull shivered, but it held. "Looks like they're curious," he muttered, "and they're going to be surprised." He activated a set of thrusters to move the ship slightly. The alien sensors tracked him, but the derelict was more maneuverable than they expected. Evan had learned to think like the enemy, predicting how they would react. He adjusted the ship's orientation, positioning the turrets for maximum coverage. The first real combat test was about to begin. Evan's heart raced. He had repaired, rewired, and improvised every system he could. Now, it was time to see if human ingenuity could overcome sheer numbers. He fired the first plasma shot, aiming for one of the alien scout's engines. The beam struck true, causing the engine to explode in a burst of blue flame. The scout veered uncontrollably, colliding with another vessel. Chaos spread among the enemy formation. Evan smiled, feeling a thrill he had not experienced in years. Humans were unpredictable, creative, and dangerous, not because of raw power, but because of their mind. He adjusted power to the main cannons and fired another volley, targeting sensors and communication arrays. One by one, the scouts lost their coordination. The AI pulsed in approval, sending energy patterns that Evan interpreted as a strange form of gratitude. It was learning from him, adapting like a student under a master. Together, human and machine were rewriting the rules of combat. But the alien fleet was not helpless. They regrouped, sending a faster, more heavily armed scout to flank the derelict. Evan anticipated their move. He activated a secondary turret and fired a preemptive shot. The flanking scout was caught off guard, its shields overloaded and engines fried. He laughed quietly. "You should never underestimate humans," he said. Evan realized he could not simply fight with brute force. The derelict's weapons were powerful but limited, and more alien reinforcements could arrive at any moment. He needed strategy. Humans had always relied on ingenuity to survive impossible odds. He began setting traps using energy pulses, decoys, and the ship's remaining defenses. He rerouted power to the thrusters, creating sudden bursts of speed that made the derelict unpredictable in movement. Alien weapons calibrated for standard attack patterns struggled to lock onto him. Every maneuver exploited their assumptions and biases. Humans thrived where others relied on predictability. Hours turned into a tense standoff. Evan worked tirelessly, calculating each shot, each move, each energy pulse. The alien fleet, frustrated and confused, began retreating. They had underestimated the derelict and the human inside it. Evan did not celebrate. He knew this was only the beginning. The ship was still damaged, the weapons partially functional, and larger alien forces could arrive at any moment. But he had proven something important. A human mind, paired with alien technology, could turn a forgotten ship into a weapon capable of defeating multiple fleets. As he worked on stabilizing the remaining systems, he discovered something unexpected. Hidden compartments in the ship's hull. Inside were advanced energy cores, shield enhancers, and alien modules no human had ever seen. They could amplify the derelict's power if he learned to integrate them. Evan's mind raced with possibilities. Humans were not just repairers, they were innovators. If he could combine these alien systems with his own ideas, the ship could become more than a weapon. It could become a force no enemy could ignore. Suddenly, alarms blared. A massive energy spike approached from a distant point in space. Evan analyzed the readings. A large alien warship, a dreadnought, was entering the system. It was far stronger than any scout, designed to crush vessels like the derelict. Evan's pulse quickened, but he remained calm. This was what humans did best, facing impossible odds and finding a way. He rerouted power to the shields, stabilized the weapons, and readied the AI for coordination. They would face the dreadnought together. He tapped into the alien modules he had discovered, carefully integrating them with human systems. Energy pulses flowed, shields glowed, and the main cannons roared to life. The derelict was no longer just a relic. It was becoming a hybrid of human ingenuity and alien technology. As the dreadnought approached, Evan studied its movements. It was large, powerful, and heavily armed. Most humans would have panicked.
Evan smiled. Panic was for those who lacked imagination.
He had ideas. Humans always found a way. He activated a diversion system, creating energy signatures that confused the dreadnought's sensors. Then he fired a calculated barrage, targeting the engines and shield nodes. The massive ship faltered, its movement sluggish and uncoordinated. Evan's human creativity had exploited a weakness the aliens did not know existed. The AI pulsed excitedly. Evan could feel it adapting, predicting, learning from him. Together, they were more than man and machine. They were a new force. Hours passed, and the dreadnought, despite its size and power, could not gain the upper hand. The derelict's unpredictability, human ingenuity, and hybrid systems kept it one step ahead. Finally, the alien ship retreated, damaged and humiliated.
Evan exhaled deeply.
Sweat ran down his face, but his eyes shone with triumph. He had taken a dying ship, repaired it, and used human intelligence to defeat enemies far stronger than him. "This is only the beginning," he said softly to the AI. "We're going to do more than survive."
"We're going to change the game." The derelict pulsed with energy, almost like a heartbeat.
It was no longer forgotten. It was alive, and with a human at its core, it would do things no one in the galaxy could predict. Outside, the stars continued to shine, silent witnesses to the awakening of a weapon unlike any the universe had ever seen. And for the first time in decades, the derelict was ready to fight, not as a tool of an empire, but as a symbol of human ingenuity, resilience, and daring. The void of space stretched endlessly around Evan Harper as he guided the derelict ship with steady hands. The massive dreadnought loomed closer, its hull bristling with weapons, engines glowing red-hot, and sensors scanning relentlessly. Every human instinct told him this was suicide, yet he did not flinch. Fear was a tool for the unprepared. Evan relied on calculation, creativity, and the ship he had brought back to life.
"All right," he muttered, adjusting the controls. "Let's see what you've really got."
The derelict shivered as power surged through its hybrid systems. Energy modules hummed, weapons awakened, and the AI pulsed in sync with his thoughts. Together, man and machine formed a single mind, analyzing every threat, predicting every movement.
The dreadnought's first strike was brutal.
Massive plasma beams tore through space, aimed precisely at the derelict's hull. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and debris floated past the bridge viewport. Evan's hands danced over the console, rerouting shields, diverting energy, and anticipating the enemy's attacks. He fired the first volley from the derelict's hybrid cannons. Plasma streaked across the dark emptiness, striking the dreadnought's engines. The blast caused a chain reaction, and one of the ship's thrusters exploded in a shower of fire.
Evan grinned.
Humans were small, yes, but unpredictable too. The dreadnought tried to adjust, swinging its massive hull to bring more weapons to bear. Evan anticipated it. He activated decoy drones, launching them in multiple directions, each emitting energy signatures similar to the derelict. The dreadnought's sensors were confused, firing at the wrong targets. "Come on," Evan whispered. "Humans are smarter than you think." With the dreadnought distracted, he targeted its shield nodes, aiming for the vulnerable points that most alien engineers assumed were impossible to hit in a real battle. The hybrid cannons roared, beams striking precisely at the nodes. Explosions rocked the enemy hull, sending sparks and molten metal into space. The alien ship faltered, its movements sluggish. Evan didn't waste a second. He pushed the derelict to its limits, using bursts of speed, sudden direction changes, and unpredictable patterns. Every maneuver was calculated but chaotic enough to confuse the enemy. Hours passed in a blur of energy beams, thruster burns, and the AI's constant hum. The dreadnought's firepower was immense, but its rigidity worked against it. Humans could improvise. Machines could adapt. Together, they exploited weaknesses no alien engineer had predicted. Evan glanced at the AI's interface. Pulses of energy formed patterns that he understood like a conversation. Target engines. Distract sensors. Overload shields. He nodded, sending commands. Every human thought combined with the AI's alien precision created a weapon far beyond either on its own. He realized the dreadnought wasn't just a threat. It was a puzzle. And humans loved puzzles. Using the ship's newly integrated modules, Evan created a series of energy feedback loops, directing plasma bursts in arcs that ricocheted unpredictably. The dreadnought's shields flickered under the strain, sparks of alien energy cascading over its hull. Evan had no formal training in alien technology, but human creativity thrived on trial, error, and improvisation. Then, a massive explosion shook the derelict. One of the dreadnought's secondary cannons had hit a section of the hull Evan had not reinforced. Sparks flew, and the lights flickered. He gritted his teeth. Humans could adapt, and adapt he would. "Patch the conduit," he shouted to the AI, though it responded with energy pulses rather than words. He guided his hands, rerouting power manually, closing circuits with human ingenuity.
In minutes, the system stabilized.
The AI pulsed in a pattern Evan interpreted as respect. The dreadnought fired again, more carefully this time. Evan was ready. He released a series of decoy drones, each moving in unexpected ways. The dreadnought's weapons locked onto them, wasting energy and missing critical opportunities. Evan saw an opening. He targeted the main engine core of the dreadnought, the heart that allowed it to move and power its massive weapons. The hybrid cannons fired in precise timing, energy beams striking the core. The explosion was massive, sending shockwaves that rocked the derelict. The dreadnought's engines failed, leaving it drifting and powerless. But victory was not complete. More alien ships appeared on sensors, reinforcements responding to the chaos. Evan's pulse quickened, but he remained calm. Humans thrived under pressure. Every mistake from the enemy was a chance to turn the tide. He activated the ship's cloaking and diversion systems, using bursts of energy to create multiple phantom signatures. The alien reinforcements fired blindly, striking at nothing while Evan prepared his counterattack. He calculated trajectories, energy outputs, and timing. Everything had to be perfect. The derelict's main cannons fired again, taking down smaller reinforcements one by one. Evan maneuvered with precision, always staying one step ahead. His strategy was simple. Hit where the enemy was weakest, avoid direct confrontation with superior firepower, and use unpredictability as his greatest weapon. The alien fleet was larger, yes, but it was rigid, predictable, and unprepared for a human mind controlling an alien warship. Evan smiled faintly. Humans had survived impossible odds for centuries. This was nothing new. Then, the AI pulsed urgently, warning of a new development. A massive alien cruiser, far stronger than the scouts, was approaching. It would not retreat. This was the real challenge. Evan's heart raced, but he did not panic. Humans thrived on challenges. He studied the cruiser, mapping its movements and weapon systems. Then he executed a plan no alien would expect. Using bursts of speed and calculated energy feedback, he drew the cruiser into a series of traps, exploiting its assumptions about how a ship should move. Plasma bursts hit its engines repeatedly, each strike carefully aimed. The cruiser struggled to respond. Evan's mind worked like a machine. Human intuition, creativity, and improvisation guided the ship as he pushed systems beyond their limits. Energy surged through the cannons, shields, and engines, synchronized in perfect harmony with the AI. Together, they were unstoppable. Finally, with a massive, calculated strike, the cruiser's main engine core exploded. The shockwave disabled nearby ships, sending debris scattering in every direction. The alien fleet, shaken and demoralized, began to retreat. They had underestimated a human controlling a forgotten ship. Evan leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. Sweat dripped down his face, but his eyes sparkled with triumph. He had turned a derelict, a dying relic, into the deadliest weapon in the galaxy, not through brute force, but through ingenuity, strategy, and human creativity. "This is only the beginning," he said softly to the AI.
The pulses that responded seemed almost joyful, a silent acknowledgement of their shared victory.
Outside, the stars twinkled in the vast emptiness of space. The derelict, once forgotten, was now alive, powerful and unpredictable. And with a human at its core, it was more than a weapon. It was a symbol of what humans could achieve when they refused to accept limits. The alien fleet would regroup, plan revenge, and underestimate humans again. But Evan didn't care. Humans thrived where others failed. They were adaptable, inventive, and fearless in the face of the impossible. And this ship, combined with human ingenuity, would remind the galaxy of that truth, again and again. Evan activated the navigation controls, setting a course toward the nearest human colony. Repairs, upgrades, and preparation awaited. The derelict had proven its power in the first strike, but the universe was vast, and challenges would only grow larger. Yet for the first time in decades, the derelict moved not as a relic of an old empire, but as a living testament to human ingenuity, daring, and courage. And with Evan Harper at the helm, nothing in the galaxy would ever see the same human mind twice. Evan Harper sat in the command chair of the derelict ship, staring out into the endless black of space. The stars flickered like distant fires, and somewhere beyond them, the remnants of the alien fleet he had defeated regrouped, licking wounds and preparing for retaliation. Yet Evan did not feel fear. Humans had survived impossible odds before, and they had a way of turning despair into victory. The derelict thrummed with life beneath his hands, its hybrid systems fully operational for the first time. Every panel, every console, every weapon hummed with energy. The AI pulsed in excitement, almost as if it understood the weight of what they had accomplished, and what was yet to come. "Time to finish this," Evan whispered. He had spent days studying the remaining alien forces. Scouting reports, energy readings, and intercepted communications painted a clear picture. The aliens were terrified, demoralized, but still dangerous. Their largest ships were far stronger individually than any human vessel, but collectively, they lacked imagination. That was where humans had the edge. Evan plotted a course toward the alien Armada's central formation, a cluster of warships guarding the route to the nearest human-controlled systems. The derelict's engines roared to life, bursts of energy propelling it faster than any human ship had ever traveled. The AI pulsed patterns of energy that aligned perfectly with Evan's strategic calculations. They were a single unit now, a human mind fused with alien technology. As the derelict approached the Armada, the alien commanders reacted predictably. Their ships moved in formation, weapons tracking the derelict with mechanical precision. They assumed a human-controlled ship would follow predictable patterns. They were wrong. Evan activated the ship's diversion systems, sending false energy signatures in multiple directions. Some mimicked the derelict's mass and energy output, while others emitted phantom weapon signals. The alien fleet fired repeatedly, striking nothing but empty space. "Humans are the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy," Evan muttered, eyes scanning the tactical display. "Because we think differently." He initiated a series of rapid maneuvers, weaving the derelict in a pattern no alien could predict. The fleet tried to anticipate his movements, but every adjustment he made exploited their rigid assumptions. Turrets aimed at phantoms, energy beams struck empty space, and the alien ships grew increasingly disorganized. Evan didn't rely on firepower alone. He used strategy. He targeted supply ships and communication relays first, crippling their coordination. With each strike, panic spread through the armada. The aliens were powerful, yes, but they were also fragile in their assumptions. Human creativity was the weapon they could not counter. The derelict's main cannons fired in a precise rhythm, each shot striking weak points in the enemy ship's shields. Explosions rocked the armada, sending debris spinning in all directions. Smaller vessels panicked, colliding with one another while the larger ships struggled to respond. Evan guided the derelict with calm, calculated precision. He had become more than a pilot. He was a strategist, an engineer, and a tactician. Humans thrived under pressure, turning chaos into opportunity. Every move he made showcased that ingenuity. Hours passed in tense silence, punctuated by bursts of energy, explosions, and the hum of the ship. The alien fleet was faltering, their formations breaking down under the relentless combination of human strategy and derelict power. Evan could see it in the energy readings. Fear, confusion, and desperation spreading through the alien ships. Then came the largest challenge. The Armada's flagship, a colossal vessel bristling with weapons, appeared on the sensors. It was bigger, faster, and stronger than anything Evan had faced before. Its energy signature dwarfed even the derelict, and its shields were nearly impervious to standard attacks. Evan's pulse quickened, but he remained calm. Humans had faced impossible odds before, and ingenuity had always won. He studied the flagship, mapping its movement patterns, shield timings, and weapon cycles. Then he formulated a plan. Risky, but brilliant. He activated the derelict's newly integrated alien modules, directing energy through the ship's core in a precise feedback loop. Shields shimmered brighter, engines roared with new power, and the AI pulsed in agreement. They were ready. Evan launched a series of decoy drones, each designed to mimic the derelict's energy output. The flagship fired relentlessly, striking the phantoms instead of the real ship. Evan took advantage of the chaos, maneuvering the derelict into a position where the flagship's shields were weakest. Then, with calculated precision, he fired the main cannons. Plasma beams streaked across space, hitting the flagship's critical points simultaneously. The explosions were massive, sending shockwaves through the alien formation. The flagship shuddered violently, its engines failing, weapons offline. The remaining alien ships hesitated, unsure how to respond. Evan didn't wait. He activated the derelict's auxiliary weapons targeting the stragglers. One by one, they were disabled, forced to retreat, or destroyed. The human mind, paired with the derelict, had turned a hopeless battle into total domination. Evan allowed himself a moment to breathe. Sweat dripped down his face, but his eyes shone with triumph. Humans were not the strongest, nor the fastest, nor the most advanced, but they were clever, adaptive, fearless in the face of the impossible. He realized something profound. The derelict was no longer just a ship. It was a symbol. A testament to what humans could do when they refused to accept limits, when they trusted their minds, creativity, and courage. The galaxy would remember this battle not because of the sheer power of the derelict, but because a human had dared to take what was lost and turn it into the ultimate weapon. As he navigated through the debris field of the defeated armada, Evan considered the future. Humans had proven themselves, but the galaxy was vast. Other threats would come. more dangerous and cunning than these. But for the first time, humans had a symbol, a tool, and a mind that could rival even the oldest and most advanced civilizations. The AI pulsed beside him, its energy rhythms almost melodic. Evan smiled. He had created something more than a ship. He had created a partnership, a living weapon guided by human ingenuity and alien technology. "Let's make sure the universe never forgets humans," he whispered. The derelict thrummed in response, ready for whatever challenge lay ahead. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, Evan Harper piloted the derelict forward, not as a relic of an old empire, but as a beacon of human creativity, courage, and limitless potential. The galaxy would never be the same, because humans had awakened a weapon, because humans had proven that intelligence, imagination, and daring were more powerful than any fleet, and because the galaxy would soon learn what it truly meant to underestimate humanity.